If you are a smart saver when it comes to retirement, you likely try and meet with your financial planner every year or so, maybe go over your goals, your progress. But as the date of calling it quits gets closer, well, the conversation should get a little more in depth. Cory Sickles is here with more. He is the president of Safe Harbor Retirement Group. Hi, Cory.
Hi, how are you, Robin?
I'm good. And this is an important thing to note, that the conversation should change, right, as you move along and kind of get closer to that retirement end date, right?
It should. I can't stress how important it really is to have a financial plan. Whether you're in your 30s or 40s, 50s or 60s, you really need to be able to start being able to find out, how do I get to my magic number? And the earlier you start, the easier it's going to be. And that's why it's so important, because the toughest thing to do when you do retire is to actually turn that savings into a paycheck.
Essentially, right? That's what it is. It's your pot of money that you're getting paychecks from every couple weeks or month, right?
That's correct. And whether it's your savings or whether you're getting a pension or Social Security or any other type of thing, you need to be able to make sure that you know exactly what your income is going to look like. And more importantly, am I going to be in a situation later on where I might run out of money, which is, of course, you do not want that to happen.
So that conversation, let's get a little bit into that. What are some of the topics that you should be discussing then during that meeting?
Well, the first part is just savings, right? But the other thing you really need but I would also think about too, is what other things do you want to do in retirement?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people, okay, I have my monthly budget of whatever, $4,000 or $5,000, but you know what? I want to pick up a hobby. I want to maybe go spend 2 months down in Florida or Arizona or wherever you want to be able to go. You have healthcare costs, long-term care. There's a lot of other things that could be unexpected costs that you might want to be able to pay for.
And then when you look at each of those things, right, like how you're going to spend your time, these activities, whatever, you also need to kind of understand, as you mentioned, the cost associated with these, and that all goes into this kind of grand plan, right? So what are some of the things, I guess, that you would be able to then look into as somebody's making their plan?
Well, just like with anything else, hopefully we talked about this on our last week's episode, and that is hopefully that you and your spouse, if you're married, are kind of on the same page.
Right.
Make sure you do have the same type of goals. But the most important part is to really kind of figure out what your budget's going to be.
Right.
Right. And it's not as easy, I would think, as people think it is. Because right now, if you're working, you're spending money, you're saving a little bit, but now you really get on that limited budget. So being able to make sure you have that budget and to be able to save, I want to say save, but able to have other things that come up or emergency funds to be able to pay for as well. Whether you might want to go down to Florida or Arizona is one thing, but what happens if your air conditioner goes out or your furnace goes out? You have unexpected things that you're going to have to be able to pay for, and that's where a financial planner can really help guide you down that path.
And just to kind of put into task some of the things that you also need to figure out when you're talking about those, right, is the cost of living in those places, right? Whether you're going to pay taxes there, the hobby, is there a monthly fee associated with it, right? So, each of these things, as you figure them out, come with their own, batch of costs.
And the big part, I'll say, you mentioned one of the first things, it's really cost of living or inflation. Right? Just because you retire today and you're making $50,000, 15, 20 years from now, that needs to be $75,000.
Right.
So a lot of people actually think that I can retire today and make this, and I'm going to spend more now and less later. That's not really the way it works, just for the fact of cost of living, and you're going to have to still buy the same type of groceries or same type of gas or whatever you want to be able to do. So you want to make sure you have a plan that has an increasing income over your lifetime as well.
All right, so you oftentimes will meet with people, and if they don't have kind of the right allocations going on, you can change course. But what do you mean by that when it comes to, if they're in that kind of 5-year span, 10-year span before retirement?
Right. So a lot of times what happens, I see this a lot, is someone will come to me within 1 or 2 years before they really want to retire. So as you kind of go through that process, I'm really usually the one that's saying, you know what, it doesn't look like maybe you can retire in 2 years unless you do some of these things.
Right.
A, save more. B, you might have to, maybe you retire, but you get a part-time job. So, little things like that.
Right.
So that, if you can come in and start working with a planner 10 years earlier, we're going to be able to see whether or not you're going to really be on that path. And we can kind of change course. Maybe you do need to save more, or maybe you need to work a year or two longer. that's really what we're here to do, is help guide you to make sure at the end of the day you want to have a successful retirement, and that's our goal for you as well.
All right, our takeaway today then, start actively kind of working on your retirement no matter what stage of life you're in. I think that's the important note. The earlier the better. Cory offers a complimentary meeting as well. So, no risk in going in, sitting down with somebody and kind of going through what your hopeful retirement date is and figuring out if you can get there. So give him a call, website, phone up on screen. Cory, thank you.
Thank you.